Yes, people. Good evening, good evening. Welcome back to the Armoury TV for Loose Cannons episode 2, where we're going to be basically discussing, debating, and dissecting the Trossard effect, which is episode 2 of Loose Cannons. I'm going to run the intro and then we're going to get right into it. Yes, people. I absolutely love that intro.
I know, gets me hyped every time.
But yeah, man. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. This is episode 2 of Loose Cannons, the Trossard effect, and welcome back to the Armoury TV. A little bit light on cannons tonight. Niger, the Englishman, couldn't be with us tonight. Busy man as usual. And Gumza hopefully will be joining us a little bit later in the show. But nevertheless, you're going to have to deal with myself and Canners, which I hope is good enough for the audience tonight. So, Canners, man, how you been, man?
I've been good, man. It's just been, I've been good, man. So just been basking in the glory of Arsenal, so to speak, right now. So, yeah, man, it's just been great. Life's good.
I hear you, bro. I hear you. It's a real good time to be a gooner. Do you know what I mean? It's a real good time to be a gooner, man. It's not been like that for a while. It really hasn't. And I keep having conversations with other gooners saying, I can't remember feeling this good about my club. Obviously, we had the glory days, we had the Invincibles and stuff like that. But since then, I mean, the last 19 years or so, we've had our ups. We've won, the odd FA Cup here and there, which were phenomenal achievements, really enjoyable moments. At the same time, consistently, I think it's been a long time where we just haven't really kind of had that same kind of, love and passion for the club, because either off the field or on the field, it just hasn't. It just had to what we it feels good. It feels good now. Yeah, man. Started obviously what is a really kind of trending, popular, some might say kind of controversial topic, which is obviously the transfer of Trossard to Arsenal from Brighton, but the impact that Trossard is having in this Arsenal side since obviously signing for us. Yeah. And we're also going to talk a little bit about our transfer strategy, because it is something that massively divides opinion about, among the Arsenal fan base. And then we'll take it from there. So we'll go to the comments because some have come in already. We've got Brenny here saying, yes, good evening, gents. Bless up to you, Brenny. Wicked. I tuned into earlier show, the preview for the sporting game yesterday, tomorrow with you and Bobby. If you haven't checked it out, people, make sure you go there and check that out. Hit the like button and subscribe.
Those two, man, I love them as I call them the dynamic duo. Them two, man, Brenny and Bobby.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff, isn't it? Brilliant stuff.
The chemistry
we've obviously got our very own the silver one. Tross ain't Dross. What's up, my guys? You know what? We're all good, man. We're all good. So yeah, we're gonna get right into it. I mean, we're gonna start at the beginning. For example, so feelings when we signed Trossard after missing out on Mudryk, because obviously at the time, Mudryk was the transfer saga of January 2023. He was a player that we tracked, a player that we were in negotiations, with Shakhtar for seemed like an absolute eternity, to obviously be pipped by Chelsea in the 11th hour. And it left somewhat of a real sour taste in the mouth of most gooners, even gooners that, like myself, that didn't really know much about him up until maybe, last season or early this season. But not so much how you feel about now. I'm talking about, let's go back to January. What was your feelings when we missed out on Mudryk and then ultimately or alternatively signed Trossard?
Well, my feelings what were essentially when we missed out on Mudryk, I just straight away said, oh, Groundhog Day. We missed out on another top signing. We've let him go. What is this? Are we out by that the customary 5 mil, etc., etc., and just feeling something which should have been tied up weeks ago. We had the crazy kind of the play was literally like twerking for us. Everything was Arsenal. It was a done deal. Everybody. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they closed the book on the actual transfer. And then for us to get pipped, not at the 11th hour, literally at the 11th hour and 59th minute. It was shattering. I have to say, I was hurt because look, this kid. I'm not to say, obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing and all that, but we have no idea of it. His ceiling is high. What he can do, what he may do in the future, may be crazy. You can't deny that. The potential the kid has is astronomical. So, obviously, if he acclimatizes to the Premiership and what have you in the next few years, he might be great. So it was kind of, as I said, one of discontent. I was feeling hurt. I was feeling, who's our negotiator? Who's our transfer negotiator? Sack this guy, get him out. But yeah, so that was my initial feeling of when we missed out on Mudryk.
I hear you. And when we missed out on Mudryk, I mean, what were your feelings around? Because there was a little bit of a window when we missed out on Mudryk, and it seemed like there was no plan B. It seemed like there was no alternative. And then all of a sudden, boom, we got an exclusive that we were, in advanced talks with Trossard, and we signed him. So how did your feelings shift when missing out on Mudryk, the lows of missing out on Mudryk, but how did your feelings shift when you heard the news that we were very close to, and then eventually we signed Trossard?
It was one of kind of okay, I've rated Trossard, but not rated him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
I've always kind of thought he's a decent player, blah blah blah. I did watch him in the World Cup, kind of thinking, okay, let's see what you got. But the whole Belgium squad did nothing really. However, it was one of kind of, I'm not going to lie, at the time, it was one of, it's distinct underwhelmment.
Okay.
I was kind of underwhelmed with the signing. But when you kind of settle down and actually check the transfer, and you really deep it ticks all the boxes really 100%. For a transfer to happen. So then I was kind of like smoothed over. It's a bit of a kind of like, it's similarities with Caicedo and Jorginho. Kind of similar kind of feelings really. But we kind of okay, let's see what this guy can do. But hey, it's we'll obviously get into what he has been doing. But,
I hear you.
I hear you.
I mean, you know what it was, I've got to be honest. Like I was feeling really low after the Mudryk deal collapsed, and it wasn't so much about Mudryk because I mean, like Mudryk clearly is a very talented young player with bags of potential, high ceiling, and I'm definitely not in the camp of. What I've noticed recently is there are a section of Arsenal fans that have done the whole thing. I'm glad we missed out on Mudryk. Mudryk's a rubbish player. He's not doing nothing at Chelsea, blah, 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 blah. Don't get me wrong. The way Trossard has impacted his side, which we'll get into, it's not the end of the world that we missed out on Mudryk. No. At the same time, at that precise moment, I challenge any Arsenal fan to really honestly tell me that they were okay with how that whole transfer deal ended and how that deal collapsed. Because I think if you were absolutely not fazed by that, then I want to take what you're taking because I was gutted. I felt absolutely gutted.
It was the ghost of transfer windows past that came back again to kind of haunt us.
Do you know what I mean? The Vlahovic's and those traumas, all came like back with a wave, and it hit me. And in all honesty, I literally just saw it unfold hour by hour on my phone. And as much as I knew it was going to happen, I couldn't put my phone down. I kept refreshing the timeline, and I knew he was going to sign for Chelsea. But for some reason, I just hoped that there would be a late twist, but I knew the twist wasn't going to come. So, I mean,
we do it to ourselves, us Gooders.
We do. At the same time, I wanted Arsenal to react. I wanted them to come up with a plan B. I wanted them to come about with an alternative. And I've got to be honest, when we were linked with Trossard, I very, very quickly got over Mudryk. I've rated Trossard for a long, long, long time. And there are a lot of reasons why I rated Trossard. One, it's his versatility. Yeah. Two, it's his quality. I don't think people actually recognized his quality or actually gave him the credit for what he's doing in terms of his numbers at Brighton. Yeah. People were rubbishing the transfer when he got better numbers than our entire front three the season before. And I was just like, I couldn't really get it. And I think a lot of it was this kind of outside of the top six bias. So it's like if you don't play for a top six side, you can't be a baller, you can't be a player. What else appealed to me was the way Brighton played football. I knew the way Brighton played football, in comparison or reflection as the way we played football, I knew he would come in and fit like an absolute glove, because we play very similar style, in terms of the way we have build-up play, and we build from the back and we keep possession and stuff like that. So for me, it was an absolute no-brainer. And the age thing for me, again, that didn't put me off, because we've got the youngest manager with the youngest team in the Premier League. And I just thought, we can't be turning up our nose at players of the age of 28, because he's technically in his prime, as a footballer or as an athlete. So I was completely gassed. I put up a tweet, which I keep retweeting just to rub it in the nose of Arsenal fans that didn't want him, because I tweeted it as soon as the exclusive came out, and I said, this is a no-brainer for me. He's experienced, he's Premier League proven, he's versatile, and more than anything, he's cheap.
Yeah,
21 million, including add-ons, is an absolute.
That's nuts, isn't it? For what we're getting
still in this market, mate. We were about to pay 90 million for Mudryk, and we got him for 21 million with add-ons, which means we haven't even paid the 21 million. He's got to get the add-ons, for us to even pay the full amount. I think it was 16 million up front or something like that. So yeah, for me, it was an absolute masterstroke. It still doesn't take away from my concerns I have about our transfer strategy, which we'll get into later on in the show. But at the end of the day, look, you will miss out on targets. But if you miss out on targets, what have you got to do? You've got to have a plan B. You've got to have a strategy. And I think we did that miraculously well. So let's move into obviously the impact he's had, because boy, has he had some impact. I mean, what have you made of, his impact since obviously joining Arsenal? I think his stats at the moment, as you can see on screen, is in 9 games. Not all 9 games that he's featured as a starter. He's got 1 goal and 5 assists. So what have you made of his impact in this Arsenal side since joining?
Do you know what? The greatest thing about this is the fact that he's hit the ground running, right? And you've got to applaud the guy, Arsenal's Edu, Arteta, what they've done in terms of the transfer policy, what they're doing. Yeah. This, when you deep it even more, when you look at now what's happening, you're right. This transfer is a no-brainer. Yeah. Right. Listen, he fair enough. He was second choice to Mudryk, but the thing is, yes, he's older, but he's cheaper. He's less exciting in terms of as a long-term prospect.
100%, yeah.
As Mudryk. Yeah. But what he has got that Mudryk hasn't got, right, is Premier League experience, and he understands the pace. Yeah. He understands the pace, the physicality, and he understands, the nature of the opponents basically that he's going to come up against. Yeah, Mudryk hasn't got any of that, right? What Mudryk is doing is basically come and get up against teams where he's not really know what the actual nature of that team's beast is. Yeah, Trossard knows all of this, and this is why in 9 games he's got 6 goal involvements.
Yeah.
And not all of those 9 games have been starts.
Nope.
We're talking 20, maybe 15-minute cameos, and a few of them. And this is the genius behind this transfer, really, when you really kind of look at it, is the fact that we needed something in January.
Yeah.
January, to buy players in January is the hardest thing to do, because you don't know. It can go one way or the other. If you buy someone from abroad, you're very much rolling the dice and hoping you come up with, with the numbers. But when you buy someone from the Premiership within January, and you're in the middle of a league title race, you need someone to kind of fill in, come in. If someone gets injured, like's happened with Nketiah getting injured. Obviously, we've got Jesus being injured already, and we needed some kind of rotation with Martinelli and Saka. You need someone who's going to hit that ground running, who you can get ample kind of data or what have you on how they are, how the family are, how the player lives, breathes, eats, does whatever, and you're gonna get all of that with someone like Trossard. It what he's been doing since he's joined us is just, it's like he's been there since the summer, and he's had a great season, and he's just slotted in. And that's exactly what you need. For me, this transfer and what Arteta and Edu, I know that they keep saying we're making these choices, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I tip my hat, if I had a hat on, these guys, because what Trossard is doing now is basically bearing the fruit of what these guys had the vision of.
Yeah. And you know what? It's like, I don't do the whole like I told you so thing, because I don't think it matters. It's irrelevant, because I think the thing with our fan base is we all have different opinions, and that's what makes life interesting. And ultimately, we all want the same thing, which is for Arsenal to be successful. So whether you rated Trossard or you didn't rate Trossard, whether you thought he was a good signing or you didn't think he was a good signing, at the end of the day, those two sections of the Arsenal fan can be united and enjoy what Trossard's doing. It's not for us to go, you see, I told you so, you see, I told you so, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? That kind of tit for tat. At the same time, I'm just very happy for him, in the very similar way that I'm happy for Ramsdale, who was a signing that I massively wasn't in support of. Ben White,
we didn't have the foresight, did we? We didn't have the foresight of these guys. But
as much as I was behind the Trossard deal, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and say that was the same for a lot of the other signings, because it wasn't. I wasn't massively behind Trossard. Ben White, Ramsdale. I wasn't completely convinced by Jorginho, but look at the impact he's had coming into the side. So, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's all about opinions, innit? And some of us will rate players, some of us won't. Some of us will think this is going to be a top signing, some of us won't. But ultimately, like, these players have come in, they're doing bits, and it's for us to just enjoy it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, to enjoy it. And I think what else can be said is that I think, Mikel Arteta and Edu, what they have done is they're getting some proper trust in the bank, in terms of like moving forward, because I'm not even stressed about the summer. Like, real talk, I'm not even stressed, because how I feel is that we're going to have our targets and we're going to try and secure them. And if we don't, we're going to secure quality either way. Like, that's how I see it. And I can't remember the last time I felt that relaxed about going into a transfer window. And I know it might have something to do with the fact that we're top of the league, but it's not just that. If you look at the success rate of the players that Mikel Arteta and Edu are bringing into the club, it is a lot higher than it previously was. I mean, we've had some real banana skins over the years, man. Yeah, come in.
I just think right now they've got a recipe, whatever they're cooking, and it's working. The thing is, yes, initially it didn't all go to plan. You had the transfers like your David Luiz's and your Willians and stuff. But the difference is what they're doing now, and the caliber, or not even the caliber, the type of player what they're getting in players that are hungry.
100%. Yeah.
And if you the major difference between the argument some people will argue, well, William was from, he was Premier League proven and blah blah blah. The thing is that he's at the end of his career and he had nothing to prove. He'd pretty much won, FA Cups, and Premier League titles. Trossard ain't won nothing yet.
But you know what though, on the William thing, I was actually behind that signing. And
it made sense on paper.
You know what? On paper, it made a lot of sense, because we had a very inexperienced side.
Yes.
We had a lot of players that hadn't previously played in the Premier League. And he was Chelsea's most creative player the season before. Now, I know he was the other side of 30, but if you look at what he's doing at Fulham, for me, there are other reasons why he didn't do what he did at Arsenal. Because if you look at his form at Fulham 2 years on or a year on from leaving us, he's still a player. He's still very much a player.
I think that there was
it just didn't work for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think his mentality wasn't right because obviously he came straight from Chelsea.
Yeah.
He wasn't hungry.
Yeah,
he's obviously gone away, gone back, and said, "You know what? I miss the Premier League."
100%.
And he's come back with that hunger, and he's doing what he's doing. Had we got a Willian with this kind of hunger, he'd probably still be with us now.
This is it. I personally don't feel like it was. Obviously, it was a terrible signing. Because of the way it turned out, but I could see the logic why they made that signing. And I think had he come here and gave us Fulham form, it would have been a very shrewd bit of business.
Yeah.
But it just didn't.
For whatever reason, it didn't work. Yeah. But what these guys are doing now, I mean, like, there's.
He's a West London man, for real.
I mean, like, you got deep because under Arteta now he's had 7 transfer windows.
Yeah.
Right. So 7 transfer windows, and the thing is, right, from I think it's January 2020 because he came in November 19, didn't he? So January 2020 until now, we've made 21 first team signings. 9 of them.
Brother.
9 of them.
Brother, you can read my mind, bruv. Look at the next talking point there. Trust me, bro. You go on, carry on, bro. It's all
9
there,
of them, obviously. Well, you've got the stats there, the data, the metrics all there. That 9 of them are actually from Premier League teams, which is 43% of his signings. And the thing is, as well, what you got to realize is that these players are hungry, and we've plucked the best from you would say like your kind of like mid-tier teams and stuff, from getting Ben White, you're getting Trossard, and we're identifying players. Obviously your Ramsdale. Do you know what? With Ramsdale and all the furor of him coming in, and everyone's thinking, why do we need another keeper? We've got Bernd Leno's, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't until I saw him against West Brom in the League Cup, his debut. And saw the ball at his feet, and I was like, "Whoa,
okay,
this guy, has got to start in the league in our next game."
Okay,
because with the ball, this guy was he was like an outfield player, and it was just different. So different. You didn't feel that kind of air of like, get rid of it.
Yeah.
This guy could play.
Yeah.
And what that does is it enables you see now other teams, and Fulham were trying their hardest to not let Partey receive the ball from Ramsdale. But then we played the ball everywhere else because he's comfortable with both feet.
Play around their tactics, man.
Exactly. And so listen, but plucking the best from the rest is a transfer policy for me. It's going to work because obviously, as you said, they're going to hit the ground running. They know what to expect from the opposition. And all it is now is that obviously the player of the technique they're going to buy is someone who is comfortable on the ball and who can pass. And they're doing this. But I'll let you go with your stat, man, because
it's true, man. It's like you said, you know what I mean? You summed it up perfectly, in terms of the number of players that, we bought from the Premier League. I don't think there's any coincidence that we've somewhat changed our transfer policy from previous management, and we are in the position we are in. I don't think for me it marries up. It's something that we just didn't do before. Obviously we scoured Europe and we you know, we try to bring in, you know, talent and potential from the continent. But at the end of the day, a lot of our big money signings that we got from other parts of Europe just didn't quite work. You know, big money, you know, on man like Mustafi, you know, big money on Lacazette. Like, don't get me wrong, Lacazette top pro, but never really hit the heights in terms of like potential. My man's gone back to France and he's banging in goals. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think, you know, the whole, I think it was definitely a shift that needed to happen. At the same time, it's not just about buying from the Premier League. It's about buying the right players. And I think that's something that Arteta and Mikel Arteta and Edu have done perfectly, in that they haven't always gone for the big name, but they've gone for the player that's, you know, going to fit the system, that they know is going to fit the system. Because many of these players that they've brought in have not been, you know, fan favorites or popular choices. That Ramsdale transfer, like you were saying about like it not being popular and stuff like that, one of the main reasons why that wasn't popular is because it was the same summer or winter, same summer I think it was, that we were highly linked with Onana, the Cameroonian international.
For free. That was an Arsenal's transfer, right?
Every Arsenal fan wanted Onana. Every Arsenal fan. So it was very similar to the summer we were linked with Maddison and we got Odegaard. So it's like the tabloids and the media outlets and the rumors and the in the knows were saying Onana. And then it was Maddison. So, and the same thing with Mudryk. Do you get me? So any player that came after that was kind of like, it felt like it was underwhelming, because it was like, what we've been linked with Inter Milan, or I can't remember if it was Ajax.
It was at Ajax at the time, but I think the problem was he had some kind of,
Cameroonian international. Now you're giving me Ramsdale. And then it was Maddison. And then now you're giving me like X1, the kid Odegaard that can't get into the Madrid team. And then all of a sudden it was like, you can't give me like the worldy Mudryk, but now you're giving me like Brighton Trossard. So there was always, like, every single time, I feel like a lot of it was to do with the fact that we were linked with other players that arguably were bigger names.
We were just snobs. We're just snobs. Basically, we're just being snob. And the thing is, though, the Ramsdale one was the worst one, because you're right. You know, we're linked with Ajax, Onana, but what was this about?
Ramsdale from Sheffield,
and he's been relegated twice with Bournemouth and Sheffield United. What are we doing?
Everyone started looking at clean sheets and goals conceded, and I was thinking, bruv, of course he's gonna concede goals. He's playing for a relegation side, bruv. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You know what? For me, I have no idea how they saw Ramsdale and how they picked that one out, because I, for one, never saw the ability he had with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's just mad. When his name came up, I was thinking, what the hell? Why? Getting a goalkeeper is the last thing we need. We need other pieces of the jigsaw to sort out. Get us a midfielder, for God's sake.
Yeah,
you know, so
that's true, man. And you know what? I obviously we're not going to read too much into, like, obviously rumors going into, you know, the summer. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of shows come the summer. But if you look at the links, obviously, if you look at the other signings like Jorginho in January, if you look at in January, we was massively, you know, on you know, hot pursuit of Caicedo. The rumors are that, you know, strong links with Declan Rice. So you can actually see it potentially continuing. This doesn't seem to be just a January thing, because we were doing it last summer, even before that. And it seems like if you're reading into the links, I mean, it looks like Premier League based players is gonna be part of our transfer policy moving forward. And for me, I don't know about you, bro, but for me, it's music to my ears, man.
Absolutely.
Because I honestly don't understand how under the previous regime we weren't doing it. It puzzles me. It really, really does puzzle me. Like, we see other teams in the top 6, top 3, top 4, whatever, picking off the cream of the crop from teams outside the top 6, and we just never did it. No. And I feel like maybe it was because we got burnt with players like, you remember Francis Jeffers? Maybe it was
that was the whole thing. We need a fox in the box. We need a fox in the box.
Yeah,
that was literally a panic buy after that 2003 Cup final. That was I
don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is, but yeah, for me, it's music to my ears, man. That this is part of our transfer policy. moving
right
forward.
now, as you said, they've got credit. I'm even kind of like, the Kyrgios transfer as well. Although we haven't seen much of him, I'm not fazed by that. I believe that he's a baller.
Trust it, man. This is what I'm saying, and I think this is what Mikel Arteta and Edu have got now. Is that I think they've got the vast majority of the fan base's trust. So do you know what I mean? Kvyat came in. I was really surprised, bro. Kvyat came in. Somewhat of a miscommunication with Turner for one of the goals last week, and I was expecting a barrage of abuse.
Yeah,
but it didn't happen.
Yeah,
I think most people just said, you know what, it's debut. It's going to happen, and that really pleased me because I just thought, the last thing I wanted is for him to just get absolutely destroyed on social media. But I definitely think there is some trust in the bank there between Arsenal and the fan base. We'll go through some comments because they are piling in. BX Gunner 81, Arteta is doing what Fergie used to do to win all the time. Cherry pick from your rivals, 100%. Jurgen Klopp, utilities, picking up Premier League proven players when he rebuilt Liverpool, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the signings of Mane.
Salah, who previously played. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
The Mane signing,
that was the biggest one.
Anybody thought. I think we knew he was a player at Southampton,
but we didn't. No one thought
reach the heights that he did.
No,
no one did.
Because when he signed for what 30 or 34 million, what?
Yeah,
you spend all that money on him for?
Now look, bruv, absolute baller, man. Like that, yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? It's crazy because, on reflection, I think there are a lot of teams now in the Premier League that are looking back on that Trossard deal, thinking, we missed a trick here. You know,
missed a trick
because, obviously, the politics between him and the manager, being kind of outcasted from the side, etc., etc. Yeah. I think 21 million in January. I mean, look at the impact he's had for Arsenal. I think a lot of teams, the likes of Spurs, the likes of United, teams, even Newcastle, teams like that are pushing for Europe, Brentford, teams like that, where they could have done with. Yeah, they could have done with a player like Trossard, man.
Absolutely. I guess in essence, what it does prove, it proves that these guys are doing their work meticulously. They're not hedging their bets or putting their eggs all into one basket. They're realizing that, hey, you know what? There's a chance here we might not get this Madrid deal over the line. If that's the case, this is our next target, or this 100%. Is the person that we're earmarked to actually to get.
100%. Brenny here saying, always been a fan of getting Prem-proven players in. It's paying off right now, 100%. BX Gunner 81 again. We've got UEFA Player of the Year for 10 to 12 million from a bitter rival, who we're all very happy about now, but I, for one, wasn't best pleased at the time.
Maybe
that's another show. I don't know.
I was on. I remember I was on the stream with Gunner King, Bobby, and I can't remember who else. It might have been Brenny, but Brenny and Bobby would just, bless them, they were just silent. When me and Gunner King were going at it, Gunner King was adamantly, vehemently saying that we should not have bought him. He's Chelsea. He's blah, blah, blah. And I was trying to say, look, this guy is proven. He's going to do a job for us. He's better than what we've got, apart from obviously in terms of partying, but who can do that job. It's a no-brainer.
I think what it is, though, I think like football, is a passionate sport. And I think as fans,
it's tribal, isn't it? It's tribal.
As fans, it's like sometimes we, because we're so emotionally involved, sometimes we lose a little bit of perspective and logic. So it's like we just, because I mean, I think I would have been very similar to Gunner King that day.
We were scared.
Had I done a stream
and William,
because you saw me in a WhatsApp group, I was spitting bullets, man. I was like, you're telling me we miss out on Casado and then you bring me Jorginho. I was not happy, man. But look now, man. My man,
it's a stopgap. He's going to serve a purpose.
Bruv, he's delivered.
Yeah.
Even in the games we lost, like when we lost to City,
Man City.
He was our best player on the pitch.
Man in the match.
You know what I'm saying? So, bruv, it just shows you, man. Maybe we don't always know the best. That's why these men are running the club and we're not. D Dubs here, big up my brother D Dubs, man. Ramsdale came battle ready. Them relegation trenches times were needed. Now he knows what the bottom feels like, and he wants.
You know what? That's such an important statement.
Well said.
Because you know what? He's gone through the mud, literally twice in a row. He was relegated, you know, with Bournemouth, and then Sheffield United. Now my guy is kind of like is now. He's humble. Because he knows how bad it can be. He's enjoying it.
And life feels sweet at the top, you know. Life feels sweet. He ain't gonna want to be back down there no time soon.
My man's
you hear him the other day, he's like, Bridget, I'm here for life.
My man was eating corned beef and rice all night. Now he's dining fine dining
man,
right now.
Win this Premier League, man. Man's gone from corned beef and rice to caviar, bro. You feel me? Oh man, bro. The silver one saying, "I'll never question a transfer again." Yeah, like we're saying, man. We've got here Arteta working Lavazza coffee on different levels than anyone. I'm sure outers feel stupid yet still somehow think it's okay to think like they do. Yeah, a lot of them are just agenda driven. That's the thing with me is like I will definitely have an opinion, like I did on some of the transfers that came in that I wasn't thrilled with. At the same time, I say what I see, and I don't admit I don't have a problem admitting I'm wrong. I think a lot of people
have a problem with that.
Yeah, they have that whole wrong and strong.
You know, they don't want to be, be clipped. Yeah. I'm like, I hold my hand. I hold my hands up. The thing is now, it's like there's so much on Twitter and everything, and it's
Bro, trust me, there were pure narratives flying around, bro. Pure narratives flying around about Arteta. So yeah, man.
My man didn't even make the Champions League squad. I wonder how he's feeling right now.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
Aubameyang, he obviously come out in that one, and look what he's doing now. All he had to do is just toe the line, be humble, work hard.
He could have been the spearhead of this revolution.
Absolutely.
He could have been. He was already captain. He was already our talisman, our top goal scorer, our marquee signing. Just hold the line, conform, like get the basics right, and he would have been loving life right now. But no, man couldn't just spend time and be a good pro. Like, come on, man.
Absolutely. I mean, that's another part of Arteta's strategy that he's got what they've got absolutely spot on. Because if you go back to when the documentary came out, and the thing is, and when they got rid of Aubameyang, one of the things that Arteta and Edu, especially Arteta was saying is that he's trying to get rid of people that are bad influence within the squad.
Yeah.
He's weaning them out. From January 2020 to now, he's weaning them out, getting them out, and getting players that basically want to pull in the same direction.
Yep.
And do you know what? There's certain players that are on loan, maybe your Tavares or whatever, that may have a bit of a problem with coming back and integrating back into the squad.
I was looking at the loan list the other day. Somebody popped it up on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. And we're going to have a busy summer, We might not necessarily have a busy summer in terms of incomings. I think we'll bring in a couple, but outgoings,
Listen,
it's going to be
Tavares ain't going for less than 20 mil.
Yeah. You got Tavares, you got Mari, you've got Pepe, you've got the decision to be made on potentially Balogun's future. You've got Nelson out of contract in the summer. You've got Lokonga at Palace. Like, there's a lot of players that are at somewhat of a crossroads in terms of their.
That's the thing. What do you do with Lokonga? Does he have another loan, or do we sell him?
This is it. You got
in the comments answer that one.
At Blackpool. So there is a lot. There is a lot. Like, I don't think this current side needs a lot in terms of fine tuning going into next season. But there's a lot of players that are out on loan, that are at, like I said, crossroads in their Arsenal career, that decisions will need to be made. And then obviously, like everything, you need to strengthen. It's always important. My good friend Albert JTV, man, check out his channel. He always says one thing to me. He says, always strengthen from a position of strength. And it's true. You can't sit on your laurels and say, we've had a really good season and we'll just kind of keep what we've got. You've got to always strengthen from a position of strength. So I know Mikel Arteta and Edu are going to go into the summer and pinpoint. The only good thing is Now we are as good as we are. Whether we win the title or not, it's going to be a really, really good and positive season. We can now handpick the quality that we want to bring into the side because we've had a good season. We're back in the Champions League, so we can be a little bit more selective with the quality of player that we bring in. So exciting times, man. Exciting times.
Absolutely.
We've got somebody responding here saying, Mr. Guna Maestro saying, loan again. He's doing okay at Palace, to be fair. And you know what? I haven't necessarily watched him, but I've seen a lot of the narrative on the timeline and in the media outlets. And by all accounts, he's actually doing a really good job.
You know what that would do, though, if we loan Lokonga again for another season. Actually, do you know what will probably be a good loan for him next season is Burnley. The reason why I say that, because they've got Company there.
Yeah,
Company was manager and elect.
He was raving about him as well. Yeah,
absolutely. And the thing is that get him out on loan again. We're now, as you say, a position of strength. We're doing well.
Yeah,
we will then, and if he does decent, which he should do at those teams, because he should be kind of like a bigger fish in a smaller pond, he should be able to shine. Subsequently, if he shines enough, hey, reintegrate him back into the squad. He's not that great, but then we should be able to command a larger transfer fee for him because we are in a position of strength. So I think, cheers, bro.
Likes everything he's hearing, bro. But man, I mean, that kind of brings us on nicely to obviously a little bit about the summer as we come into Not My Money FC versus Arsenal Accountants FC. And this next talking point is going to really split the fan base. It's probably going to really split the chat. So, everyone in the chat, big up yourselves. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure if you are subscribing, you tell at least one other Gooner this week to subscribe to the channel. We are on our countdown to 1K, and we want to get there as quickly as possible. But people in the chat, tell me, what are you? Do you fit in the bracket of Not My Money FC? I want the club to spend whatever it takes to get the best top talent out there in world football, or are you a little bit more conscious of the financials? Does it bother you, that Arsenal shouldn't necessarily go out there and spend 90 million on Modric, because the Trossard deal, for example, makes a lot of more sense at 21 million? Are you the Arsenal fan that doesn't want to overpay in terms of weekly wages? We've got some real important contracts, renewals coming up. Does it bother you if a player like Saliba, for example, gets paid 250k a week? So what side of the fence do you sit in? Do you just not care how much the club spends in terms of wage structure and transfer fees? Or do you like the club to, kind of act the way they're projecting at the moment, which is the kind of self-sustaining, structure, and just be a little bit more sensible with our resources and our finances? And I'm going to come to you, Canners. What Arsenal fan are you? Not My Money FC? Are you making the 11 for Not My Money FC? Or are you starring for Arsenal Accountants FC? Or are you a bit of both?
I would say you could say a little bit of both, but because of my history with Arsenal, in the sense that I know what we're like. We're the Arsenal. Right, and we're a class act, and what I mean by that is that we've always done things in the right way, and there's nothing better than what we're doing right now, right? By sitting at top of the league, right, but doing things in the right way. What I mean by that, we haven't got plastic money. Do you know what I mean? We haven't got a sugar daddy or an oil estate or whatever bankrolling us or whatever. We're doing things in the class way where we're self-sustainable. We're generating our own money. We're balancing the books neatly. However, what we are doing, though, we are paying players handsomely. Now, I think there needs to be some kind of hybrid solution here. And what I mean by that is that, okay, fair enough. Sometimes you might need to kind of break the bank for a player.
Yeah.
But you also got to reward the players that you have already within the squad, i.e., so they don't go to your Barcelonas or Real Madrid for those big monies and etc. Like we used to always kind of lose those kind of players. I always remember, losing players like Overmars and Petit to Barcelona and also Anelka, because obviously
lost
our wage structure
grand.
Our wage structure would just kind of, it would just be nuts.
Yeah.
However, we're in such a good position right now is that we can afford, if the player's worth that money and he's already within our ranks, i.e. your Sakas, your Salibas, your Thomas Parties or what have you, Martinelli's, all these players, these young players getting these new contracts. Money-wise, they don't need to go anywhere else. If we're competitive enough, i.e. competing year after year in the title challenge, always getting to the latter stages of the Champions League, quarters, semis on a regular basis. Why would these players want to go anywhere else? I understand towards the end of the end of their careers, or the twilight of their careers, or whatever, they might want to say, do you know what, I want to experience another league, or whatever.
Yeah.
But if we're competitive, and if you're a professional, what would you rather do at the end? You know, with your grandkids sitting next to you and stuff. You know, let's just say to you, you're a professional footballer. You're Harry Kane-esque, right? You're a Hurricane type, where you've kind of like played at one club, you've not won anything, but you know, you've got all the, you know what, kids, I scored all these goals, but I didn't win anything. Or you're like an Armoury. Well, yeah, do you know what? I played at this one club, but we won titles, we were invincibles. I then went to another club and we won more again. I completed the set. I got the Champions League, the FA Cup, the the World Cup. I've got the Premier League. Come on, So at Arsenal, that's what we need to promote: paying players well if they're performing and they're worth it, by keeping and extending their contracts, but also as well being prudent in the transfer market. I think it's well within our grasp, and it will be an expensive transfer if we are to go for Declan Rice, to pay the 80 million, and he'll probably be on something around 200 grand a week.
Yeah,
and I think that's well within our rights to do that.
I hear you, and I think what you're basically saying there is it's a bit of both.
You've got to be.
I think that's the most fair way to put it. And I mean, we've got some interesting opinions in the chat here. We've got Silva saying, "I'm neither. I just want us to have the right signings, to be honest," which I completely get.
We know what players deserve the renewal of the contracts and the money that they get.
Yeah,
we know those players.
Yeah, we've got BX Gunner saying, "I don't want us obviously to become a Barcelona," which I think is an absolutely brilliant point.
It's a circus right there, right now.
Yeah, because ultimately it is a business, and there are different ways to run businesses, and our club chooses to run the business in a certain way. So I fully understand what you're getting at there. We've got Mr. Guna Maestro saying, "Yeah, no overpaying. I'm still frustrated about overpaying for the likes of Pepe. The price tag affects certain players, and it ain't their fault for huge price tags." And he goes on to say, "When Arsenal knock, it's a special knock."
100%. 100%.
We've got BX Gunner saying, "We don't buy world class, we make them with a mighty Arsenal."
But the problem in the past with us is that when they are world class,
they leave.
we've got to be at that point where we're retaining our talent.
Yeah. Brenny here offers a very different opinion, nevertheless as valid as ever. "I want us to spend the money to get the best players possible. I'm never concerned about the financials." And then we've got Mr. Guna Maestro saying, "Honestly, Arsenal is the best project. We shouldn't be going to bidding wars."
I mean, if you check it, how sweet would it be if we win the league this year, right? Yeah. With the money that we spent and the way we've gone about it. Everyone's...
Bro, it's the blueprint for success, man.
It's just a beautiful thing.
It really is. You know what it is for me, and this is the thing where, I've kind of said where I've not always been a massive fan of our transfer policy. And in a way, I'm not in the camp of Not My Money FC, and I'm not in the camp of Arsenal accountants. I think these are, obviously we've put it on the screen, but I think these are two ends of the spectrum, two extreme ends of the spectrum. You've got some fans that they just don't care whatsoever what money is spent, which is kind of unrealistic. And then you've got And I mean, you've got some really obsessive fans out there that, you know, look into like, you know, the finer details of contracts and clauses and, you know, you can't pay, you know, £1 million over, you know, what the player's worth, etc. So I think they're two extremes at opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. I'm kind of in both, in that, in all honesty, I don't care because it isn't my money. At the same time, I do care how the club is run. Because going back to the point where I think it was Mr. Good and Maestro or BX Gun, I'm not sure which said it, we don't want to become a Barcelona. You know, we don't want to spend beyond our means and get into financial difficulties few years down the line. And we don't want to get in trouble with, you know, financial fair play rules as well. So I can do that. Like, as a fan, I love it when we're linked to big money signings. And I love it that, you know, we go out there and we are willing to spend, you know, big money. But I think there is a criticism that I somewhat share with some of the fan base, in that some of the larger signings that we tried to get over the line, for whatever reason, we haven't. And that probably falls in line with our policy, which is, I think Arsenal go into negotiations with an idea of a fee that they're willing to go to. And if it gets beyond that point, they're willing to move on. At the same time, as much as that is frustrating as a fan, you know,
there's something admirable about it.
There is something admirable about it. And when you reflect on it, I mean, Mudryk is not, you know, if we go back to the Mudryk and Trossard thing, Mudryk was not the only winger that was available in world football in January, you know, and the Trossard signing proved that. So I think, you know, the whole kind of not my money FC, like, as much as I'm in that bank of, you know what, if we see a top talent, go for that top talent. And I do get frustrated when we don't secure it, because maybe it's a bit of ego, maybe it's a bit of pride as an Arsenal fan. I feel like it somewhat makes us look a bit silly, you know, to rival fans, you know, in the news outlets. And so I think maybe that's got a little bit part to play with it as well. But then in terms of the Arsenal Accountants FC, it's like, I really get, like, I really understand that at the end of the day, you know, put in what we see Arsenal, you know, for us, Arsenal FC is our club. We're fans, we're passionate, you know, it's fueled with emotion. At the same time, it needs to be run with logic. It needs to be run with rationale. You can't just offer Saka 350 grand, and because Salaba's going to want, you know, 350, and then Nelson's going to be like, well, I'm worth at least half that, so I should be bagging at least 150, 200. So, do you know what I mean? All of a sudden, very, very quickly, you know, things can get completely out of control. So, I mean, I'm kind of a bit of both. I think I want to see my club go out there and spend money. And I think a lot of that has got to do with, over the last 20 years, we've seen Chelsea do it, and we've seen the success that it's brought them. We've seen Manchester City do it, and we've seen the success that it's brought them. I still remember when Man City were playing Sean Golter up front, and all of a sudden they went from Sean Golter to Sergio Aguero and Balotelli. So
Tevez,
you know
and
what I mean?
So
it is very frustrating, because a lot of the time when you look at it, you think, you know, when you look at the landscape of football and you look out over the last 19, 20 years, the teams that have been the most successful have been the teams that have gone out there with a blank checkbook and bought all the best talent available. So I completely get the not my money FC. At the same time, not every club is run like that, and we're a club that's not run like that. So, you know what I mean? I hold a little bit of love for the Arsenal Accountants FC. So I'm gonna be boring, and I'm gonna kind of sit on the fence. I don't really feel I'm in either squad. I kind of feel like every transfer is a case by case situation.
And I think you're absolutely correct with that. And I think that's what these guys are doing now. They're choosing and they're kind of dealing with every transfer on merit. And listen, who am I to kind of, you know, grumble or whatever? Right now, they're doing things the right way. If 80 million is the going rate for Declan Rice, and they've given him a good contract, if that's the going rate, I mean, I think it.
It's true, man. It's true.
Absolutely. This guy, he changed the landscape of football, didn't he? Really, in this country.
But the man they got now just spent 600 million one window. And you know what? Like, listen, there's a
And
lot of dudes out there writing off Chelsea. Listen, this season is gone. But
yeah. Listen, the thing is,
they get the right manager. They got some players, you know. Listen, trust me. That 600 million they spent still might bring some success in the near future because they bought some bullet. All these players they bought, and they still got Nkunku to come in the summer as well, bro. Yeah, they're gonna have a squad, man. They're gonna have a squad.
If they get a manager that glues them all together, there could be a problem.
Yeah,
there could be a problem. I hope in a way.
For me, the man's not Potter. It's not Potter. I'm not sure if he makes it to next season. I hope he does get time because I actually like Potter. I
thought you saying I hope he gets time because obviously he's dragging them through the mud. So
no, you know what? Like at the moment, you know what it is with Chelsea is that it's like at the end of the day, I kind of have accepted the fact that Chelsea are part of the Big Six. They're gonna be part of the Big Six moving forward. But as much as I don't really want them to do well, I kind of don't want Potter to just get like sacked in his. I just feel like, bias aside, the man deserves the opportunity and he deserves time. I look at what happened to Arteta, and ultimately, like our board, some might say it's because they didn't care about the club, but ultimately, our board didn't listen to the fan base and crumbled to the pressure, and they kept faith in Mikel Arteta, and we're now reaping the rewards for that. And I think a lot of other clubs will start to look at that, even the likes of Chelsea, because when you think about it, it's like, had Arteta not turned things around at Arsenal, I think you would see maybe Potter wouldn't even have a job right now. But, I think you even hear, I think Potter himself, Pep Guardiola, even other people in other football clubs, they're starting to reference Arsenal in terms of, look, when Arteta came into the club, look what the club was like. Finish eighth, finish fifth. They stuck with him, even when we went on that horrible run of, I think we didn't win a game in like 10 games or whatever it was.
God.
Everyone was calling for his head. When we went to Villarreal and played the ESR at false 9, calling for his head. And now here we are sitting pretty at the top, 5 points clear. So, I mean, I do think Arsenal are somewhat laying the blueprint in terms of like what you can achieve in terms of a long-term process, a long-term project. I'm even hearing Man United fans saying, trust the process. And I'm like, yo.
That was the slogan them mans were killing us with. How's your process? How's your process?
Yeah.
I'm trusting it. Jeez.
Now I'm hearing Man United fans telling
they've got a process now.
Let's trust the process. Ten Hag, man, he needs time. All these things, that we were saying about Arteta, they're now spitting the same bars. So
the same lyrics.
It is very interesting.
One of the things I would say though is that in going back to accountants, FC, and and not my money. I would say I'm probably more Arsenal candidate because having a season ticket, obviously, I want to know how my money's being spent.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like in that kind of sense.
I'm going to put you on the spot, though. I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could trade our self-sustaining strategy under the Kroenkes for the club to be sold to a global billionaire that would come in and do what Roman or Todd Bailey or the sheikhs at City have done, what would you do? And there's no sitting on the fence with this one because I'm going to answer this. I'm going to answer the same question. Would you trade our current strategy and the way our club is run for a global billionaire sugar daddy?
If it ain't broke, it doesn't need fixing, right?
So that's a no.
That's a no.
Okay, I'll be real. I'm gonna do it. Not my money, FC, bruv. Listen,
that's where you are. Not my money, FC.
Billionaire, bruv. The one that's been linked with us for years. Bring me one of these global billionaires, man. Let's buy the whole of the city. The whole of the city is gonna clean up, man.
But do you know what? Arsenal accountants FC is what makes us Arsenal supporters.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? If we was not
you.
my money FC all the time, whatever, do you know what I mean?
You,
and we had that kind of, that the
BX,
owned.
BX Gunner is saying that's tough. I know your answer already, BX Gunner. If you're saying it's tough, you want that billionaire, bro. Don't lie, man. Be honest.
I've got the two angels sitting on each shoulder. You know what I mean? You got the devil saying, "Not my money, FC," and obviously you got the angels saying, "No, self-sustaining model."
Yeah.
Look. I mean, if we win the league, as I said before, under our current regime and what we're doing and how we're going about and how we're doing it, I think it would change the landscape of football again. And
you know what? That is a very, very, very bang on point there, Cannons, because I think what we're doing right now is all the sweeter because of the way we went about it.
Absolutely,
I absolutely agree with that. As much as I'd take a shake or a Nigerian,
any Man U fan,
any
Man U fan, who would they rather win the league, Man City or Arsenal? They'll say Man City.
Yeah.
Why?
True.
Because it's false.
Yeah,
they got all this money, whatever.
It's true.
We do it. They're like, wow.
Yeah. This is an actual project that is coming together,
which everyone was taking a piss out of.
Yeah.
And now we're bearing the fruit of this process.
You hit the nail on the head there. I agree. And I'm somewhat joking. Do you know what I mean? I'm somewhat joking.
But listen, man.
I love. I'm
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. There was certain times I would have sold myself, man. You know what I mean? I would have sold myself for some of that money.
Yeah, and as BX Gunner says here, before we change the subject and wrap up the show, winning with Arsenal hits different, and it's true.
Absolutely.
Winning the way we're winning, and the journey under Mikel Arteta, and what we've been through, it does hit different. It really does. And if we go on to win this league or win the Europa League, and even if it's not this season or it's a season or two down the line, nobody can say we bought the title, and none of that. There'll be none of. Don't get me wrong. They'll come up with some narrative, but they definitely can't throw that narrative at us.
No.
Because other teams out there have spent way more than us and have not won the title. So yeah, I 100% agree with you, Canners, and agree with people in the chat. One last comment, because I really, really like the comment, and then we're going to round things up with a bit of a rating for Trossard and his impact at the club so far. So Shane Curtin said here, is a centre forward a bigger priority than midfield in summer, or is both needed? Canners, give me your thoughts. Thank you for this comment. Really, really good question.
I don't know.
It's a hard one.
It's a tough one.
I can give you some time to think if you want. It's up to you.
Go on. Let me have a think. You take this one first.
I personally feel like a midfield. Midfield for me is a priority going into the summer. I feel with the ability, the versatility of our front three, and the players we've got, I think we can cope. I think we've coped this season. I think as you can see, I think we're the only team other than PSG in European football that have 3 players on double figures in terms of goals. We're the only team in the Premier League that have 3 players on more than 10 goals. And that is, oh God, who is it? It's Odegaard, Martinelli, and Saka. Yeah, it's those 3. So yeah, I saw the stats the other day. Only team in the Premier League and the only other team in Europe other than PSG. And PSG have some front 3. So for me, I think we could cope. I think for me, midfield is a priority. Up front is maybe a bit of a desire. I think Jesus, Eddie, and the issue of Balogun as to what to do with him, I think we have enough going into next season. I don't know what we're going to do there. I know different sections of the Arsenal fan base sit in different corners in terms of what to do. Some say sell Eddie, some say keep Balogun, some say sell Balogun while he's done well on loan and keep Eddie. He's done really well coming in for Jesus, because I mean, Jesus getting injured and Eddie coming in, that was another narrative that's been absolutely dispelled. The narrative was Jesus was out with our season.
Everyone was saying, let's see what happens when Jesus is injured.
We're still 5 points clear of City when Jesus got injured. When Jesus got injured, we were 5 points clear of City. We're still 5 points clear of City. One could argue that had he not got injured, we probably would have been further away from them. So to answer your question, because I know I've rattled on a bit, I would say midfield is the priority going into the summer over a striker. However, in an ideal world, I would probably address both, but I'm not sure we will. I think we'll address. I think
both in a big way.
Personally, if it's me, I mean, I'd love to see a Declan Rice and
not my money FC, both in a big way. Yeah,
I'd want a Declan Rice and an Osimhen to come in the summer. But I feel Declan Rice, the priority is midfield. I feel like a Declan Rice player is what we really need. When I look at our front three, I mean, if you look at the players we've got at our disposal, if they're all fit, including the players on loan, I mean, we've got a lot of players for three positions. Yeah. So we would have to see a lot of outgoings. And I think for us to get a front man in the summer, I think you're going to have to see both Balogun and Eddie leave the club. And I can't foresee that right now, personally.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll come to you.
I've had to think about now what you're saying, and you as always make some valid points, and a lot of them I agree with. I think the midfield is something where we need to kind of upgrade on in terms of depth, and that drop off when someone's injured or we need to rotate, because we're literally going to be playing twice a week.
Yeah, and big boy opposition as well.
Where you want to play your strongest 11.
Yeah,
you can't. You need 3 points in pretty much every game for the Champions League group stages. However, what I will say is that the caveat, obviously, he's rusty and he's been out for 3 months. When Jesus came on and he had that opportunity against Fulham, first thing that came to my mind, he's does everything right. He's brilliant. He's build up play. He's class.
There's a question
how
clinical he is. Yeah,
that's the thing. If we was able to kind of add a clinical striker that puts, listen, I'm not faulting Eddie's work rate and the things that he does, whatever. However, in terms of being that clinical striker, Eddie's not it. I feel that we could. Buying another striker would be a great thing for us to do.
Yeah,
I would happy to keep Nketiah there, and also as well take Balogun back, but put him out on loan to a Premiership team.
Yeah,
to an established.
I hear that,
and see how he goes from there on as well. And then you got a decision to make, either then to kind of keep Eddie or Balogun. Because one of them's going to have to go. But then you have like that clinical striker, you have Jesus, you have Martinelli, you have Trossard, and you have Saka. And that rotation can keep going on.
Yeah.
But I do think a solid midfield player, someone who can play in that Xhaka role, i.e. Declan Rice, would be, I would probably say, would be my priority.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. We've got here a couple of comments before we wrap up. So we've got Silver One saying, thought everyone should know Marquinhos has been sent off for Norwich in a 92nd minute. It's 1-1.
He's another one, actually, the next season.
He's got to go on loan again, man.
Loan, but with a Premiership team.
Yeah, there's no room for him. And BX Gunner here with some really good comments tonight. Get Polina. I mean, top player at Fulham, man.
Listen, he's I think they've let in something like 8 or 9 goals since he got suspended.
Yeah. He's a big player.
Yeah, he's
big player for them. I think Balogun has to showcase for us. He's coming with the same hype Saliba had. He's ready for a goal. And I agree. I mean, when you look at the goals he scored, I mean, people have said, like, seize the opportunity, sell him while his value is at its highest. And I do get that. Because I think there have been times when we haven't done that and then we've kept the player and we've missed a trick. At the same time, I'm not sure you can just sell a player that has had that good a season without actually looking at them again. The only issue is he has 2 years left on his deal at the end of this season. So we have to be pretty certain about what we're going to do with him, because if we stick him out on loan again for another year without a contract extension, we run a very, and he has another blinder of a season. If he comes back with a year left, we're not going to get much for him.
Do you know what? Yeah,
that's the problem. So it's a problem I would not want to have to deal with come the summer.
No, do you know what? The thing I would say about that is that I think Balogun will probably go out on loan again if he does, from next season, and I think that would be a good thing for him.
Yeah.
And it will then give him something to work towards, and us also, well, the management, Arteta and Edu, a decision to make about, actually, you know what, do we actually sell him, or do we actually give him a new contract? And I think that's the kind of next stage where what will need to happen. Yeah. But also as well, in essence, we will be in a stronger position. I mean, we probably won't get as much as we wanted for him if he was to go. However, though, we should still get quite a healthy. He's a trainee, isn't he? So we get a healthy fee for him.
100%. And that pretty much kind of wraps up the show. I mean, it's gone on a little bit longer than I expected, but this is what we do here at Loose Cannons, man. We don't really have a script. We kind of like have a couple of talking points, but we just go with the flow. But to wrap things up, Canners, to go back to our original topic, which was Trossard, I want you to give him a rating from 1 to 10 on the impact he's had at coming to Arsenal since January. And those of you in the chat, please do like the stream. Please do subscribe if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, please tell another Gooner to subscribe this week.
And give us your ratings also for Trossard.
Yeah. I want to know what you think in terms of Trossard's impact and this Arsenal side since January, based on the games he's played and the impact he's had. Give him a score from 1 to 10. Over to you, Callus.
There was a brief comment, I think, made by Shane, going back to how scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in football, and that is 100% the hardest thing to do in football is to score a goal. What this guy's doing since he's come in, fair enough, he hasn't hit the back of the net, the onion bag in regular, but what he has though is goal involvements.
Yeah,
and with 9 games that he's played, he's got 6 goal involvements.
Yeah.
And what he's doing is he's keeping teams guessing, the opposition guessing of what is going to happen next, how they're going to deal. We've just got another problem where things are getting stale. I'll never forget watching the Newcastle game at home.
Yeah.
If we had Trossard then,
we ran out of ideas.
We absolutely, but Trossard and what Trossard does, he's another problem. For me, I think this guy's phenomenal, and what he's doing right now, it's probably the hardest thing to do is to come in a January transfer and hit the ground running and do what he's doing. So I'm going to give him a 9.
I hear that 100%. And BX Gunner, he's giving him a 9.
I did see that. I swear.
Yeah, and you know what? The only reason why Tony coming in here saying he's getting an 8 from me. Imagine if we had him against Newcastle, exactly what Callum said. You know what? I'm going to give him a 9 as well. And the only reason why he's not got a 10 is because some of those the vast majority of those goal involvements have been assists. I think had he got maybe a couple of more goals, and that's not me criticizing him. That's just, I think the impact he's had has been absolutely phenomenal. I echo everything you said. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's given us options, versatility, creativity. Obviously 5 assists in 9 games. He scored a goal. He's had a couple of other goals. Either unlucky.
Even the one against Leicester, what was disallowed? What a finish!
What a finish that was. I was so annoyed for him. Let alone us. I was just annoyed for him that didn't go in, because he deserved to score that goal. But for me, that's the only reason why he doesn't get a 9, is because a couple of more goals probably would have tipped it to the 10. And that's the only reason why he gets a 9. So we're gonna both score him as a 9. Any more in the comments, just throw them in. But that pretty much kind of wraps up tonight's show. Like I said, a little bit longer than I expected, but that's what we do here on Loose Cannons episode 2. So, Cannons, thank you so much for obviously joining me. As you will be now every time we do these shows. No Niger tonight, no Gumza, but they will be back with us in our upcoming shows. Let the people know where they can find you, Canners.
Oh, man. Find me, as you can see there, my name there at Canners2204 on Twitter. Always as a resident on the Armoury TV, on our reactions, previews, loose cannons with my guys there. So yeah, listen, man, today was beautiful, man. As I said, you know, talking with you, talking Arsenal with you, man.
Nice one.
What better way to spend maybe watching Champions League football. However, this is a very close run second.
Yeah, I hear that, bro. Yeah, we're gonna have to like maybe rethink the timing next season. No, but listen, appreciate it, bro, man. I mean, last comment coming in here. Do ping them in, and I will try and go through them before we wrap things up. Shane says a 9 for me. We more fluid with him. Eddie didn't link up with Martinelli, and our movement. We him. Yeah, brilliant. No, true.
He's brought Martinelli. He's literally brought him back to life.
Yeah, he injected life into this front three. Absolutely. Bro. I mean, yeah, for me, G Talks. You can find me obviously the Armoury TV. Previews, review shows, loose cannons every Wednesday at 8:30. Well, not every Wednesday, but as many Wednesdays as we can. But yeah, I do all my interacting on Twitter. So literally the handle is there, G Talks Arsenal. Hit me up, give me a follow, drop me a DM, and we can get talking about Arsenal. But yeah, that wraps up everything for tonight's show. So yeah, tomorrow night, huge game against Sporting.
Yes.
Bring it on, man. I think all that's left to said is come on, you Gunners, and have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
Bless everyone in the chat, man. Absolutely phenomenal this evening. So as we do here on Loose Cannons, man, we want to keep you all interacted and in the show as well. So this is your show, man.
And on the last comment.
Love you too, Mr. Fox.
Love, guys. Fantastic stream. Thank you so much. And on that note, have a good evening, people.
Bless.